Oh, that's yours.
You drinking out of it?
No.
Slobbering in it?
Did
No
you
way.
get one for everybody?
He had it over
You
here
bring
in my
enough there
face.
to share?
We don't have the ARPA funding agreement.
No, I haven't got the new one. Or is there gonna be a new one?
Yeah, well, I guess that's what we're gonna discuss today, but I believe,
I've
yeah.
got one on my desk. You can make copies real quick.
Do you want,
I have
the old
one here, though my printer's a
Is that the new one?
funky. It's the most up to date that I have.
Okay. He's got an up to date one.
We have. Okay, we can get started. This is the Williamson County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's January 27, 2022 at 1:15 p.m. Roll call, please.
Jim Marlowe,
Present.
Brent Gentry, Tim Matheson,
Present. Stephanie is making some copies of the ARPA funding agreement. So is there any old business before we get to new business? If not, go to new business. So we'll jump down to the cyber insurance. Speaking with Josh Ditto and Tom Couch, Tom has let us know about the increase. Number one, the increase for the insurance costs for cyber insurance protection, but that there are different needs now that we do not have in place. And working with Josh Ditto from CDS, Josh has given us a packet of information on the new requirements that they can provide. And basically, this is updating all of our stations so that with the multi-level authentication that's required now, along with some other things by our insurance provider for cyber insurance coverage. CDS has agreed that in part of this package reflects training for all the departments. It will require training. I'm not quite sure if it's ongoing training or not, but I know there will be training on how to handle the different multi-levels of authentication so that whenever someone logs onto a computer, the computer will know that it is the person that's authorized to access this computer.
They give you they give you a code you have to put in. So if it says 10X, and then you can type in your code, like 4-digit code.
I think everybody has to take it initially.
Absolutely.
Everybody has to take it initially,
Yeah.
and then after that, if you click on something, you click on the wrong thing,
Right.
then you have to take it again.
I do know that there are some websites that need to be accessed by certain agencies, say for example, the state's attorney's office or public defenders for some investigation. Same thing with the sheriff's office. Those will be set up, from my understanding, on separate dedicated stations that if there was some sort of hack, it only goes to that station right there and does not get access to our network and affect the entire county. Those special stations will also, you'll have different levels of authentication to access those to making sure that only people with the authority to access those stations can access them. The cost of all this is an increase, obviously, talking with Josh. Our total IT package will come to $95.45 a month, approximately what 120 some odd, however that total was. Off the top of my head, I'm going to do that times 12. But the original, 95.45.
114,540.
114,540 is the total cost. Josh originally gave us packet. There's a service extended into 2024. I asked him if we would go ahead and just bring that back down to the end of our fiscal year so that it would help us out during budgeting. Because at this time, we just need the budget for this. So this updated packet is the same as the original one he sent. The only difference is the differences in the coverage period. That changes to from February 1st until November 30th of this year, which is the end of our fiscal year. Other than that, anybody have any questions about this or?
Well, one of the, just real quickly, one of the reasons why this went up, because we're picking up the sheriff's department too, is they were on GoDaddy, which is probably one of the lower level, I guess, to be on, but so they're putting us all together on a better, more secure way of doing things, because let's face it, I mean, people are getting hacked, and every day government's getting hacked. There's a lot of information here that people shouldn't get their hands on. And the gentleman who's doing this, his specialty is doing cyber security. So he is very, very good at what he does. But you notice that day when Scott and they were in here, Scott was thrilled from the sheriff's department.
Right.
The left-hand hand, but it's kind of over their head, and you know.
Well,
So that's why it went up.
And you bring up an interesting point, because they've been using GoDaddy for their email service. And this will get everybody in the county, every employee who has an email through this.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's,
On the same page, yeah.
I don't know if that's a policy we need to enact now. I don't know if we have a policy for that. But I believe if you're an employee of the county, you should be using the county's email service.
I would have to agree with that. I think that that's something that maybe we should work together with our state's attorney's office and look at this policy. Maybe see what we can come up with, something like that.
Yeah, I think that especially if the board chooses to provide and pay for a service that's accessible to all departments, any official county business should be done through that server or through those provided email addresses. And I mean, while it is kind of common sense and standard business practice, that's something that we can look at drafting a policy for.
Well, I don't know how we can assure that all emails are going to be kept otherwise. If it's on a private service, that person could delete those emails.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that brings up another point too, under FOIA, right? Any official county business, with obviously the enumerated exceptions in the FOIA statute, are discoverable by the public upon request. And so if you have 3 or 4 different systems that you're using, it may be difficult for us to track that information down, which would potentially cause the county to incur some sort of penalty or fine. So having that is difficult. I mean, for example, I have a county email address, Williamson County SA for statesattorney.com. And, we're told not to delete anything. But even if I delete an email, IT can go in there and pull it back up.
Right.
So
It's never really gone.
it's never really gone. And same thing, let's say, for example, you had a GoDaddy email or Hotmail or heck, AOL still. You can still delete it even if you're not supposed to. The problem is it makes it tougher for us to retrieve in the event that the county would need to. So
I think all of our emails should have, the residents of Williamson County or anybody should have access to all of our emails. It's county business, and I think as a public entity, it should be made available to the public at any time.
Absolutely.
Given for transparency, I think we're all on favor of transparency to the utmost, and I think this is one of the ways that we can do it.
So we
So,
need a motion for this.
but yeah, I will need a motion for the cyber. Well, this is cyber insurance. This is not really the insurance. This is the update of our IT protection. So, do we need to have that rephrased?
On here it says updated supplemental security services. Word it that way.
Okay, but it's all related to cyber insurance.
Yeah, it's just for.
But this is not the actual policy.
No, no,
Right.
this is
This
CDS.
is
Right.
CDS.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
This
This is not,
this is separate than,
right, we will get, once we pass this, Comcast will be notified, and I sent him a text earlier, and he said, once we get this, he'll double check with Josh to make sure that everything, is in compliance with what the new insurance requirements are. Then he will, wait for the, underwriter's, opinion so that he can give us a quote on the price for the insurance. So, but anyway, it's a changing age and changing times and we have to change with it. So, like I said, we just need a motion to accept this, updated IT.
But
It's not on
it's
our.
not
not on the
listed
agenda.
like that. So,
Okay,
yeah, that's what
all
you were
right,
asking.
phrase
It's
it
really not
however you
listed.
want it, so then how can we?
we can't phrase it anyway, but
You can't phrase it anyway, it's not on the agenda.
Okay.
so
So
it'll
then,
have to be on the next, I guess.
I will note though that this, and this is one of the things I wanted, was the acceptance of service agreement on this page, it does end November 30th, 2022.
Right. So, I think cyber insurance is one thing, this is another thing, so when you're voting, it's gonna have to specify
How does it need to be put on the agenda the next time?
exactly what we're doing.
yeah,
We're accepting CDS,
updated, IT protection.
agreement, something like
Yeah.
that.
Revision actually, it's a revision of their contract that we have. And that's
That's
what,
probably best stated that
yeah,
way.
it's a revision.
So,
Of the cyber security, yeah. Is that-
okay,
Yeah.
say it one more time.
Can you repeat
Since
that,
I got
please?
about 3
Can you
different
repeat that,
responses.
Um, It's a revision of our IT coverage with CDS.
Okay,
Very good.
You should put the word agreement or contract or something like that in there,
At the end, agreement or contract.
because after it's voted on, then you guys will execute the document.
So really cyber insurance would probably next time because he'll have to get a
Right,
bid. Okay.
right, but I would have to ask this, so we can't vote on this right here. We're all in agreement.
I was just,
Oh, yeah.
I think we're all in
Yeah.
agreement here. It's gonna be unanimous whenever we do it.
So then I can give Josh the okay on this, that this is, acceptable.
Right.
And then let Tom know this is acceptable, that we had a little snafu on the wording.
Then if him and Josh want to talk, they can
Yeah.
do
We'll get it
it.
straightened out the next time, and hopefully we can do both this plan and the insurance.
They're gonna write us a new policy for the cyber crime.
I think maybe like an addendum or something,
Okay.
or maybe a separate policy, I don't know, I'll ask Tom.
When you talk to him, would you ask him to send that to us?
Sure, sure will.
Read through it.
Okay, moving on. Going back to the ARPA funding agreement. Um, Has everybody had a chance to read the
Yeah.
ARPA agreement? Are there any questions?
Tim, is that the only thing you were,
I'm not happy with, section 5.3.
5.3?
Right, it falls under termination,
Right.
and down at the bottom, it's basically saying that when the agreement can terminate, or will terminate. And it says, when the business has exhausted the grant funds awarded to it by the county. That doesn't really terminate the agreement, because there's still gonna be reporting and auditing requirements from these
That's true.
grantees.
That's true.
So, I'd ask for that to be cleaned up.
I guess let me jump in here. What specific language would you like to see? And I realize that typically the state's attorney's office is the one that provides the language. But I guess my question to you is, since we're not giving them any money until they provide us invoices and reports, we're gonna have the reports and things first, then we give them the
And we
money.
give them the money.
Yeah, so the only obligation they'd have after they've exhausted our portion of the funds, let's say they have a $1 million project and we're giving them 500,000. They still are gonna continue on with their project, but this particular agreement for our purposes for funding it would essentially be over, with the exception, I agree, of potentially having a single audit in the future. And I guess while I'm talking about requirements after a project's done, let me mention one more thing. There was a question that came up. I don't have an answer yet. I've rung it up the flagpole. I'm waiting for an answer. Here's the question. We all know that projects have to be completed by December 31st, 2026.
Yes.
Now, let's say that Drew's meat market qualified for $25,000 that you guys gave me. My project or whatever I'm doing, okay, it's a $25,000 project. You funded the whole thing, 100%. I know my project has to be done by December 31st, 2026. What about, let's say that, just example, the city of Marion is going to build a big, nice new whatever, water tower. And let's say it's going to be $3 million. And you guys decided that you're going to fund $1 million of it. Does their full project have to be done by December 31st, 2026? Or only the portion of the project that this board is funding? Does that make sense? You understand the
I know what you're
difference?
saying.
The money that comes from our ARPA funds.
Right. And
Now,
let's-
then how can they fangle which is which?
Well, exactly. And that's one of the reasons, just like we're doing with Walker's Bluff, is we're going to receive, invoices, pay orders, whatever the case may be, material sheets. They have to justify line by line where the money's going. So I think it would be easy enough, and I'm not in construction by any means. This is probably a Travis question. I think it would be easy enough to see, hey, we gave them $1 million or a third of it to do these 6 things, or the infrastructure, whatever. That's complete. Now they're just waiting on, whatever else over here. So I don't know the answer to that question. The answer very well may be that the entire project has to be completed by 2026. If that's the case, and I have in the agreement right now that project has to be completed.
Yeah.
But that may need to be amended once we get an answer.
Okay.
Yeah, because most cases, if you read 4 bullet points, it's like, let's say the infrastructure, say there was water, but the infrastructure part is what we would be funding for, not the rest of the building or whatever.
Sure.
So that's interesting.
So we're waiting on that.
Project.
I think on the termination section, Tim has a very valid point. We need to put in there that they may still have responsibilities as far as auditing. We can just say reporting to, that's fine.
Right.
What about all the federal requirements?
So federal requirements, while they're not specifically stated in here, they are said in a couple of places. First, we do have a vague terminology in here that basically says, look, you guys have to conform to what the money is supposed to be used for. We also, on our application, I put a link to the federal, the website to the federal requirements.
Yeah.
So they signed off knowing that they have the responsibility to meet those requirements in the application. And that if they don't follow through with that, it's a material breach of this funding agreement. Could we put more language in? Sure. I think the document I received, we got from Kim that was forwarded to me yesterday afternoon, was like, 30 some pages. 65 pages, something like that. I mean, we could make this agreement 100 pages, and just bury all that language in there. What we do have in here is we do have a full indemnification clause, right? Which means that if they screw up somehow and the U.S. Department of Treasury comes after Williamson County, they agree to defend us. They are holding us harmless and fully indemnify the county. So we're not on the hook for their screw ups. So while I think we're covered and I'm comfortable with the level that it's at, if you guys want me to pursue putting some more direct language in there, or even putting, a 3 or 4 page printout in here specifically from the Department of Treasury, we can do that. So You know, and to further, you know, this is obviously important. We're dealing with millions and millions of dollars. And while I fully trust my abilities, if you want this rung up the flagpole to Brandon or somebody else to get another opinion, you know, no harm, no foul. I'm not going to be upset by any means. You know, I want to make sure it's done right.
That part, I say it's up to you, because we're not attorneys, so if you think you want to run it by somebody else, run it by them. If you think you're absolutely correct, that's fine, it's fine, but I'm just speaking for me, it's fine by me, but if you're right, if it's worth talking to somebody else about it, go ahead, you know.
Brandon has been provided a copy of it, but I haven't heard back from him. I know he was in a conference in DC earlier this week. I'm not sure if he's back yet or when he gets back, but I have a meeting to speak with him about a couple of other issues early next week. And so if we don't have an answer by then, obviously we'll discuss this topic as well.
And if you did have a meat market for $25,000, there's a good chance this board would not fund you.
Yeah, I know. They're the best steaks outside of New Jersey, though. I mean,
I think the bottom line is we want to be absolutely 100% positive. No reflection on, and no doubt on your part. We appreciate all that you've done. But once again, if that means asking Brandon.
It probably wouldn't hurt to get one more, just one
Sure.
more eyeball on it.
Since
Now-
we are talking about $13 million.
$13 million. Now, the one of the things that I think Ms. Meyer said in her email was that she was providing a copy of a flow through that the state used for federal funds. This contract that I have was modeled after a flow through from Jackson County for federal funds, for federal grant, a different type of grant though, which is why it was modified. So it does have some of those provisions, but
Sure.
I totally understand, you know, wanting to put some more in there. Commissioner Atkinson, you identified section 5.3. Are there any other specific sections that anybody has an issue with or we want to change or clarify?
That was the only thing that really jumped out at me, Andrew.
Okay.
And I was just concerned about that or,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Two-letter words.
Well, or, yeah, or in contracts can get you in trouble.
I like the word shall. You shall.
Other than that, I thought it looked pretty good.
But we need to determine whether it's on the partial funding, if it's for percentage completion, like what we're talking about, or full project.
Yeah.
Now, all along, I've been under the assumption that means the full project. That's what we've kind of talked about all along, because, I mean, at least we've discussed that, like you said, projects have to be completed by 2026.
Sure.
And I was sitting there thinking about the ones we passed out to, and those projects would be completed because it's all related to water and sewer. That part's okay.
And I think. with
Now, if the next one
exception-
comes along, it's a building,
I think with the exception of just one, and that would have been Lake of Egypt, we were funding the entire project.
That was going to be my
it's all,
question.
all infrastructure.
And so it's really kind of, it's a moot point on those projects we're funding completely.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
down there, we'll be buying those, whatever he brought in.
We asked him about that, about the term, and he said that would be done within, what did he say, like 6 weeks or 2 months or 3 months, something like that.
So you're right, though, if there's
Or
something else
maybe-
comes up, there's the building,
Yeah.
our part's only the infrastructure
Sort
underneath
of
it.
foundation or
Well,
something.
that's a
Yeah.
perfect example, Carterville with the parking lot,
Hmm.
okay? There's a perfect example of the project, okay? We would be funding, if we do it, we're funding the water and the sewer underneath it, not the concrete above it. Might have to have some word tweaking in there.
So, and I think maybe what the best thing to do is, and this is not a boilerplate that each individual one, you're not just gonna have them all sign it. We're gonna obviously tailor them specifically to the project, and so maybe you have an A and a B series, you know, to where if we're funding the full project, they just sign A and the wording is project has to be completed. If we're funding partial, they get Schedule B, which says, you know, outlines exactly what has to be done by the end of December 2026, assuming we get that answer from the Department of Treasury. So,
Agree.
One thing I do want to point out here, just to make sure everybody understands, in one of your references, you were referring to Walker's Bluff. we are not using ARPA money for Walker's Bluff. I just want to make that known for the casino or the road.
Sure. No, the only thing I was bringing up was the system we're using
Yeah,
to
right.
pay out is,
It's totally different.
they submit invoices to
Right.
Travis and my office. We look at them. Once it's signed off, we present it to the board for payment.
Right.
We're going to set up for these projects, a process similar to that. They'll submit their documentation to us. It'll be reviewed by either the board and my office, or Travis in my
Right.
office, or heck, Amanda, if she wants to, do it, up to you. And then once approved, it'll be presented to the board for payment.
Does anybody-
I know what you're saying,
I mean,
because there's
anybody-
people out there thinking we're building this thing to walk
Yeah.
across. And what all we're doing is infrastructure and doing a road,
Right.
period.
Right.
That's
We
it.
have no part of the casino itself or anything.
So,
Correct.
but there's a lot of them, they believe that was
Okay,
unbelievable.
so then, once again, we just need to table this.
Yeah.
All right.
Just see what you bring back. Yep. All right, brother.
Moving on. Okay,
Nothing?
Make a motion to table that.
So,
Funding award agreement, participation agreement.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah.
Brent Gentry.
Yeah.
Tim Atkinson.
okay, moving on, updated hiring policies. This is something I've talked about for quite a while. Over the years, I've been approached by people on how you get hired in Williamson County. And this is something that Williamson County has needed for a long time. Basically, the answer was, well, just go fill out an application and put down what department you'd like to work for. And that would probably go into a pool of applicants, I would assume. But as far as any job openings, a lot of times I'm not aware of any job openings. And for the most part, I would think most of the residents in Williamson County may not be aware that there may be an opening in a certain department. And so, in working with the state's attorney's office, I talked to Brandon about this a while back. I thought, Brandon, we need to have at least a policy in place that if there's a job opening, I think it's just right, the right thing to do to have the department heads at least post it on our website so that it's available for the public to see. And that way, they could apply and possibly get an interview. Department heads, it was never my intention to restrict department heads in any which way. So Brandon, and I assume Andrew worked on this as well, and Andrew sent this policy to us, and I'd just like to read it to you. To all department heads, it's an updated hiring policy. Williamson County Board has approved the following
Yeah, there's a typo.
there's a typo there.
I'm assuming that means guidelines.
I would assume that means guidelines. Procedures regarding hiring within the county government. Department heads shall submit job posting information for any any open or available position to Human Resources. HR shall post all job openings on the county website. Department heads may submit the job posting to other job boards, websites, or agencies as desired, as long as the position is listed on the county website. Example being maybe Indeed or any other job search website. Department head shall notify HR once a position has been filled or sufficient number of applications have been received. HR will then take the job post off the county's website. Discretion for final hiring decisions shall remain with department heads, however, and whenever possible, department heads should interview multiple candidates for available positions. And diversity in hiring is encouraged. However, it should not be used for a basis for making a hiring decision. And above all else, Williamson County government is an equal opportunity employer. All qualified applicants will receive consideration for employment without regard to race, color, religion, gender, national origin, age, physical or mental disability, genetic information, protected veteran, or uniformed service member status, or any other characteristic protected by local, state, or federal law. I think this is a policy that's been a long time coming, and I'm very proud that to work with the state's attorney's office in developing this policy. I think the board would agree that as a public entity, the public should have access to any available job openings within the county at any given time. So with that being said, does anybody else on the board want to comment on this or have a
No, I think
question concerning this?
This is long overdue.
Amanda, I just have a question. What do you do when you have an opening? How do you go about getting the word out?
I usually do Indeed or some agency.
And you still can. Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, I just still said-
Right, this won't hinder you being able to hire whoever you want.
So, Brent, you brought this up a time or two. With all our policies, enforcement is the real key issue here. I'd like to send this policy out to all the different department heads and elected officials within the county. And hopefully they would comply and agree with this statement, this policy that we have here.
I don't see anything on here why it wouldn't. I think the paragraph at the bottom is so key. John Huffman stressed that on us for years, and I think that bottom paragraph's the biggest kicker of all of them that I like to see on here, so I don't think any problem. Amanda, if you look at this as a department head, would you have a problem with it?
No, I don't think so.
Nobody telling you what,
all you're
nobody
doing
telling
is
you what to
posting it
do?
on the website.
What's that- what
Yeah.
you do?
That's what you have to do.
It's just letting the public know, hey, there's an opening in this department. And if you're interested, fill out a job application and submit it to HR.
Personally, I wouldn't know. I mean, because there's people hired all the time, I have no idea. I
How many
don't
times have
ask,
we been in
don't
here
care, you know?
In budgeting where an employee comes in, we're going, who's that? Well, that's the new hire.
Right.
Didn't even know there was a.
Well, I think in some cases, the treasurer doesn't even know until they show up.
Yeah, or they say, this one's gone, and this one left last year. I have no idea.
And, openings happen all the time for various reasons. That's not the problem. It's just, we need to, as a public entity, I think it's our obligation to let the public know when there is an opening. And so, with that being said,
You want a motion?
yeah, I just need a motion
I make a
to.
motion.
We make a motion to send it out, to let them look at it? or
No,
make-
to approve the policy.
I was going to make a motion to approve it
Oh, I thought you said send it out to them, if they want to look at it.
and then send it out.
And then we'll send it out.
Okay.
If you pass it, I will get you a clean copy fixing, I found a second typo.
I like that one.
I prefer that you sign the,
Drew, I gotta tell you, Jim took all my fire there.
I looked up, saw that word, I'm like, oh, boy.
It reads the following guiltness, and I don't think anybody wants to sign it. So,
Trying to slip there, we don't know.
yeah.
Were you guilty of something that day, or?
I guess I was.
But
Okay.
anyway,
All right, so I'll make a motion then. I'll make a motion that we accept this updated hiring policy, put it into effect, and then have it sent out to all the department heads and elected officers.
I'll second.
Jim Marlowe,
yeah,
Bert Gentry.
Yeah.
Tim Atkinson.
I just want to say thank you to the board. I think this is a great opportunity and a great, and it's a long time coming. This has been in place for a long time, should have been in place for a long time. With that being said, is there anything, from anybody from the public? We open this up to the public at this time. Do we have anybody on the phone?
I called him and he didn't answer, but I left a message with him.
Okay. I had, the gentleman call, he had filled out an ARPA application. He was questioning the status of it and everything. I said, I told him the direction we were going right now and what we've approved. I said, if you'd like, you could, it's an open meeting, you can call in. He asked when to call in. I said, well, it's hard to always tell when for somebody to call in at what specific time. So tell Stephanie, give him a call. I said, this is the way we set it up. So when we're getting ready, you can go ahead and call in our number and then we can discuss it. Well, evidently he can call. So,
Was it one of the earlier ones we got, or was it just recently received?
no, it's one for, yeah, one that's been calling a number of times.
Okay.
So I just invite him, it's an open meeting, I invite him to call into the board meeting. So,
There is one thing, is that the animal control officer, or Harris, talked to me the other day, Kevin, about putting in a credit card machine out there to, because a lot of people, they come in, you say, we can't take cash, we can't take check. They get kind of upset naturally.
Right.
And they gotta go to ATM and get money and all this. And that's the first thing I asked, of course, is it a charge to the county? And he said, no. You know, the old saying is, the less cash you can handle, the better off you are.
Absolutely.
From auditing standpoint, stuff like that. So I told him it's nothing to have to vote on. I said, we can go ahead nod, and if you want to go through with it, as long as it don't cost us money.
Right.
And it's a convenience for the people. I say, I'll go knock yourself out, but anybody got a problem if he does that?
No,
It's the same
I don't
thing
have
we're
a
doing over
problem.
here, so.
No,
You know, and if there is a fee, of course, you know,
That's not his budget.
it would have to come out of his
Right.
budget, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I do agree, I think it is better, everything's going to cashless society,
right.
whether you like it or not, and, I think it'd be great.
I find myself not even carrying any cash anymore, like just debit card.
I don't have a single dollar on me, I can tell you that.
I've got 3 in my pocket.
I know, you had to bring me $2.
Well, that being said, then we just need a motion to, adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
One thing before, okay. We talked about getting back together to discuss the,
All
grant
this.
agreement and the, yeah, so you have a date in mind? You want to try to shoot for next Wednesday?
Well, it's gonna be dependent upon Andrew whenever he gets it.
You want to
done.
keep that same date? You do next Wednesday?
Tentatively shoot for next
Yeah,
Wednesday.
Wednesday should be fine.
Well, we have a meeting already on Wednesday, so.
Yeah,
So we had to post on Monday, so if you're not good, then we'll just.
and it's an ARPA meeting anyway.
It's an
right?
ARPA.
So, yeah. That works for me.
Okey doke. All good? Clear as mud?
Did you make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Jim Marlowe?
Yeah.
Brent Gentry?
Yeah.
Kim Anderson?
All righty. We got to do supervisor assessment. We're done.
Thank you all for coming.